Hey, what's up, guys? Let me get some music here fucking dialed in for this little download. This is going to be an official download of basically everything that I can sum up, both nationally, internationally, and even including to some extent some of our local problems, issues, etc. You know, now people may or may not listen to this to each teach their own, right? Teach their own. I can't make people listen. I can't make people not buy into the propaganda, but I'm gonna try my best to tell you what's up, okay? There's a big war going on. Everyone's real nervous. Some people have friends overseas, and I gotta be real with you. If you got friends in the Middle East, they should get the fuck out, guys. They should get the fuck out. This is no longer a war between Israel and Iran. This is a war between America only, right? This is the America only war, right? It is the America only fucking war. Let's get some fucking music on for that too. And we're gonna win, but it's gonna be horrifying. But we're not gonna put boots on. We should not be putting boots. We might put some boots on the ground. I hope fucking not. But ultimately, you can see kind of like geopolitically where everything's headed, right? So the first thing I want to point out is America has had tons of bases destroyed over the past 72 hours, right? I also want to point out, I'm not getting this shit from the news. Like, I'm calling my friends who are private military contractors to see where missiles are going, right? Because, like, you can see, I'm exercising military connections, my own knowledge of how the military functions, you know, the mission op, and kind of where we've been at a culture for a while, right? The thing we all need to understand is both the Khomeini regime and the Iranian regime are both, what do you call it? What's the word I'm looking for? Are both, they're both equally fucking bad. And in fact, really are not even enemies. You know, the people on the ground are enemies, right? But that's just because the people on the ground come from multi-generational caste slavery and they suffer extreme male disenfranchisement. I want to talk a little bit about male disenfranchisement right now. So male disenfranchisement, when I say that, I don't mean a dude who can't get a fucking job, right? If you're laboring under that's what I mean, you're a fucking retard, okay? What I mean by male disenfranchisement is I'm talking about in the anthropological sense. Now, this is something I went to college for, I'm educated in, you know, if you want to, but really anyone can do the math. I've had several papers floating around on X for a while. So, I'm gonna explain what male disenfranchisement is, though I'm just gonna sum up, right? You know, like I said, you can aggregate your own data, but I can sum up what the data shows. And the data shows this. There is between 470 and 700 million disenfranchised males. That is males between the age of 18 and 45 who have effectively zero access to mates because of economic and geographic isolation. Okay? That is a huge fucking number. All right? That's at the low end 1.5 times the total population of the United States. Okay? How did so many extra dudes come about? Should be the question on everyone's mind, right? How did so many extra dudes come about? Well, there's 3 primary factors, right? Factor 1, abortion. Women, regardless of a one-child policy, women, when given access to abortion because of the additional estrogen in a female fetus, abort daughters at almost twice the rate of sons, right? So when you have abortion, you start exterminating females at a higher rate than males. This is biological fact, okay? Second reason, when you have polygamous caste societies, the patriarchs of these societies produce overwhelmingly sons over daughters. This has to do with our epigenetic code, right? Our physiology and how it responds to environmental stressors. Things like pheromones, okay? The ratio of male to female pheromones in general population has an effect on sex selection and conception. It's not the be-all end-all, but it has the effect, right? And the way we can tell that this is true is we can look at all of the openly polygamous caste societies on Earth that exist right now, of which there are a bunch. And if you don't know this, aren't you just a lucky fucking American, right? But the reality situation, Jesus Christ, I can't see a fucking thing, guys. But the reality of the situation is, it's something like 3 to 1, right? So if you have the patriarch of a class of hoes or a class of consorts or a class, those patriarchs produce way more sons than daughters. Within one generation, they fuck up their whole ecosystem. Their human ecosystem is destroyed because of a lack of homeostasis. Okay. The third factor is isolation into high-power enclaves or polygamous enclaves, which, mind you, create more males than females. So this is not good for society overall. Like, of the 470 million, I think it's between 80 and 120 million just come from polygamous isolation. Isolation to polygamous cults, feminism, corporate harems, all this shit, right? Which leaves us a big number of way too many males. The reality situation, the culture that is fucking at fault for this is desert Semitic culture. Whether you perceive that as Israeli or Muslim, it's all the same. If you're in a culture that is practicing polygamous caste slavery, sheiks and hoes, pimps and hoes, sheiks and harems, princes and consorts, corporate manager and his 30 hot chick executives, which he and his 5 buddies straight around. All of these lead to overbirthing of males, right? In the last 25 years, these practices have been empowered to an extreme degree. And the people most at fault for importing these practices into the United States, where it was taboo for hundreds of years, but basically began hard importation in the 1950s due to the arrival of one Indian subverter known as Rajneesh Puram. Rajneesh Puram basically used chemistry to dope populaces that were unprepared for that, and then what did he do? Oh yeah, and then rented the rape of the covert rape of a small portion of that population to the globe for an extreme amount of money, basically. That's how he got rich. That's how he got 40 Rolls Royces. It had nothing to do with the capability of his group to work as a team or his wise spiritual practices. It had to do with the fact that he was selling the covert rape of a small percentage of his fucking community to the global population. And then he met the Hollywood Jew, who was doing basically the same thing, and the American woman became a prized rape target for every fucking rich fuck across Earth. And that's been going on for 40 years, right? Our community's been directly affected like this. There's basically multiple lily pads right in town. I mean, we're like literally the what you call it, and it's just like. So what's happening in Iran? Sorry, I didn't mean to get off topic. So the reality situation is, our government is totally fucked. The military knows it's totally fucked. The American male knows it's totally fucked. The American male understands that these foreign powers are actually working to murder them through euthanization, economic segregation, gang targeting, all kinds of stuff, right? The amount of video evidence on this is prolific. I have a bunch on my YouTube, right? Covert gang assassination of white children being funded by Indian nationals with the support of the black community or the ghetto community, however you want to perceive that. And so we're in a war. It is a world war. Basically what America's doing is it's pulling a Vietnam right now, right? America's basically doing a bounding strategic withdrawal from the theater and it's scorched earth. Like, we don't care that our bases got blown up, guys. No American male who's being targeted for extermination by the most insidious and malicious series of terrorist attacks by a group of literally perverts and child and women hostage takers gives a fuck that there's going to be mass starvation in the Middle East. We really don't care, right? As far as the destruction of this little girl's school, probably Khomeini did it in reality. I wasn't there. But the reality situation, if you look into the 1970s and you talk to the elders who lived through the fucking Cold War, and you actually sit down and talk to them, they will explain to you that we've been getting held hostage for some fucking time. Because the Americans were not willing to, let innocent women get murdered, right? When we talk about the mass trafficking of females out of the United States, most of them end up in Middle Eastern Sharia systems or Jewish porn enclaves, in reality, and then are rented back to their host population. Now this has been so successful in the last 20 years since Instagram and Tinder, right? They've effectively fucked the whole population up. They've kept the women in these rings of prostitution far too long, and so they're going infertile. They were far too exposed to polygamous patriarchal behavior, so they overwhelmingly had sons globally, and they had far too much access to abortion, so they overwhelmingly aborted daughters. So lowballing it, there's, according to the latest AI aggregation, there's something between 470 and 700 extra million males globally, in the global population right now. So if you're a dude and you're like running through chicks, you should stop. You should just stop. If you're a dude and you abuse women, you should stop, right? If you're a woman and you're unmarried, you need to lock it down quick. You definitely shouldn't be renting yourself out. This game is no longer functional, right? If you're an old fuck that is in charge of a harem of hoes and is just waiting for the next generation to get spit out so he can pimp them to a foreign nation to maintain his wealth and power, I'm sorry, that ship has fucking sailed. Right? Technology has done you in, you know. Going back to the global theater, one result of this massive male population boom in these Middle Eastern countries as a result of trafficking of Western females into polygamous caste societies is they had a massive population boom over the last 20 years. Tons of males. That's why between 300 and 470 million dudes 470 and 700 million total globally, lowball 300 million in the Middle East, if you take the 470 lowball total, right? And so they've been using the fuel to basically invade Europe with Toyota trucks and Ireland. They're just invading. These are invaders. They have no women. They come from societies of no women. Because their patriarchal practices of their fathers has basically doomed their society to a fucking massive die-out, right? And it would have died out a lot earlier if we had been artificially keeping them propped up because of hostage-taking and manipulation and the covert abuse and grooming of children in schools to make them compliant to these hostage-takers, right? I'm going to reiterate. The American military male and the American militarized male is aware of this, right? It's really easy to be aware of things when you're the one being targeted for extermination, right? The shell game is over. There's a reason Trump looks like a moron when he talks to Pete Hegseth. It has nothing to do with Pete Hegseth. Pete Hegseth he's basically in charge, but he's not even in charge. He's just a front man. He's basically the president, because ultimately the United States military is about preserving the fact, like, you have to understand the amount of those weapon systems are like, they could end the whole world like 10 fucking times with their weapon systems. So it behooves them to not make moves that allow the world to end. So they're always thinking about the world ending. That's literally their job. And if something happens where it's like, well, if we do nothing, the world is going to end, like that's where we're at, right? We can no longer kowtow to the hostage taking of the Middle East and the terrorism of the Middle East. We can't negotiate with terrorists. We never could, right? Because if we adapt their practices, if we allow them to import their practices, the same crisis of overbirthing of males that led to Mao's Great Leap Forward and 60 million fucking starving people that is leading to the invasion of Europe will come here. And there's nowhere left to fucking go, guys. So we're in a war. It's a world war between basically polygamous caste societies and non-polygamous homeostatic societies. If you're in a fucking polygamous caste society, you need to figure it out, guys. You need to figure it out, right? Because the American military is coming home to deal with this shit, right? Iran and Iraq and Israel, they're all going to starve to death, right? The oil fields are being destroyed so they can no longer invade Europe and they're trapped, right? There's no reason to bomb the fuck out. A lot of women and men are going to die unnecessarily, but that's the sad reality, is if we just let them keep holding us hostage, we keep letting them abuse children, we keep letting them import invaders who plan on setting up the same systems of systemic child abuse here, something that my community is very aware of, not because in general my community were abusers growing up, but because we had 5 or 6 bad actors coming through the Rajneeshpuram circuit in the 1970s, i.e. Yogi Ananda, who also built a lot of his money through the covert prostitution of a small portion of his parishioners to high-paid actors, right? And who knows where they are at now. That was in the 1980s, right? So, like, basically, that's what's going on. right? If you don't understand or you think something else is going on, I'm sorry, you're fucking wrong. And I'll bet you're wrong. And I can prove that you're wrong. And I can prove that I know what's up within 6 months. Why is it going to take so long? Because I'm going to make a prediction. Within an amount of time, probably within the year, but soonish, you know, we're talking about macro, soonish, Dubai is going to look like North Vietnam. It is going to look like a complete rollout. Right? You think dispatching these carriers to go to war? We're there to go pick up hostages, dumb fucks. Right? And if you're over there and if you're crying over all the polygamous child rapists that are all going to starve to death in the desert, like, fuck you. One, nobody cares. Nobody cares, guys. Like, America, right? Like, yeah, we're horrible people. That's the reality situation, but we don't want to be horrible people, right? If people would just do what God says and create monogamous, homeostatic fucking relationships and build foundational family units in concert with each other without their bullshit, racism, ethnic supremacism bullshit, if they would just do the right thing, the basic thing, none of this would be necessary, right? But because of the creation of polygamous caste societies, now we're looking at another like fucking cycle of mass death, right? So that's what's going on. I'd say inside a fucking year, I don't know, dude. I have no idea where it goes from here, but this is going to be a world war. There is going to be a purge in America. If you're a dumb fuck, I just highly suggest you figure it out, right? It's not up to me. I've got a broken leg. I can't even do anything. I'm going to be out for the purge, dude. Waiting all year. Waiting for 2 years straight. And I'm fucking going to be relying on other people to do the right thing, which is really frustrating. But the thing is like, it's coming, right? And so if you are protecting these type of societies, now's the time to stop, right? If you're advocating for these types of behavior, now's the time to stop. If you are perhaps the Jewish Chabad synagogue trying to exfil mass amounts of fucking caste slavery into my county under a charade and sex trafficking under a charade of religiosity, I'd really appreciate it if you knocked it the fuck off, you know? And it's like, did you guys not see that fucking Indian dude got busted in Yuba City and they took all his fucking guns? All those guns are just going to the fucking Americans. They're not going into like lockup, right? In the real world, this is a whole arms, like everyone's just shooting each other over the same 10 guns, guys, right? And once the military gets here, it's fucking it's gonna be, yeah, they're gonna be like Nazis. I hate to break it, they're gonna be like Nazis. They have to be, right? They have to be. We have literally people, even with all of this information, we still have people in this town, in this community, advocating for the euthanization of children, the prostitution of women, the prostitution of adolescent women. We have women advocating for women's only compounds. And, you know, like, if you're in a women's only compound, like, there needs to be an age limit. Only women who have hit menopause are allowed in women's only compounds, because the rest have to go out to fucking society and make kids. I hate to break it to you guys, we live in the fucking Handmaid's Tale, right? I'm okay with it. I'm like, I did my time in the Navy. I fucked around a little bit. You know, I've had some fun, but like, between 470 and 700 million globally disenfranchised males, guys, right? There is this hypothesis, right, that all these dudes with all these ex-hoes, some guy is gonna step up to the plate so he too can enjoy the benefits of the wealth of manipulation, right? But there's nothing there. There's nothing there. All their pockets are empty. All the old fucks who put us in this situation and are making promises to you, their pockets are empty, right? They've pretty much sold their children out to a foreign nation. You know, like, it's just like, it's so ridiculous, man. It's so ridiculous. But like, for me, I'm putting this out there just so, you know, just to try and prepare my community. If you're in my community and you know me, you grew up with me especially, that's why I'm most interested in talking to you, please reach out. If you are a woman who's currently getting prostituted in any of the fucking local prostitution rings, of which there are a dozen, you don't have to reach out to me, but I would send this upwards to your fucking leaders so they understand that we understand. Consider me a mouthpiece, right? I'd prefer not to be shot for just being smarter than everybody else for that situation. You motherfuckers are gonna need me, you know? let's see. But yeah, getting control of our government is super important. Another thing to keep in mind is our government is implicated in war crimes, Nuremberg Code violations. Like, I understand they might have made some mistakes, or they got intimidated, or they spent too much time at fucking Elixir, or the chief of staff fucking dosed them out, replaced all of our fucking county workers with like Shabbos Goy slaves. A lot of things could have happened. I know that all sounds crazy to fucking retards, but you know, the people who know I'm right are listening, right? So, you know, I'm just getting everything. It's like, it's time, guys. It's time. It's the come to Jesus moment. If you have not familiarized yourself with my YouTube material, now would be a good time to go all the way back to the fucking beginning, right? All the way to the fucking back to the beginning. And don't worry about the rhetoric I use. Don't worry about the sound of my voice, whether I'm angry or happy, right? And understand, that's just like my vision of therapy. Why am I gonna talk to a therapist who's a brick wall, who doesn't matter, ultimately doesn't care about me, when I have a computer screen right here that doesn't matter and doesn't care about me, and I can pass useful intelligence, right? Now would be a time, if you're not already familiar with this, although I will say most of my friends are, my close personal circle are mostly familiar. Now would be the time to familiarize yourself with that fucking material, right? It's just a call out to everybody. It's just a hello out there, right? And for all of you old fucks, i.e. anybody 50 or older who's making promises that their asses can't cash, it is time to disclose that your asses can't cash that promise. Oh, another thing, there's a lot of people out here that think they're gonna get rich on the real estate fucking market. Okay, there's a massive global population collapse. Land is basically worthless. The most valuable people in your fucking community, right, in these communities of these mountains, the most valuable people in the communities of these mountains who understand how the mountains operate, who understand them, cannot get land to work, right, without paying a fat old fuck so he can afford blow and 16-year-old prostitutes. Okay? All right? So you need to all rethink this shit. Okay? If you're attached to some property, you think you're going to grow old and die, you're going to inherit daddy's real estate fortune. Daddy doesn't have a real estate fortune. Daddy has a massive problem of land that he can't fucking protect in the middle of a foreign invasion. Right? The odds that we're going to see mass terrorism throughout the United States and many urban communities, fucking high, guys. Fucking high, dude. You know, and it's just like, man, I've been telling you. And I just hope as like all this horror unfolds, and it is gonna fucking unfold. I've only been wrong one time in any of my predictions, right? And the one time I was wrong, it was because I predicted that the government would step in to do something to solve this crisis before we got to this point 5 years ago. That's the only time I've ever been wrong. When I expected my government to be competent, to have common sense. That is the only time I've ever been wrong. Every other fucking prediction I've made is correct. And so I'm telling you right now, when I predict that in some amount of months, no more than a year, Dubai is going to look like North fucking Vietnam during the American withdrawal, you'll know I'm right about everything, right? That's my little Nostradamus fucking pinpoint for you, right? Like, figure it the fuck out, people. Figure it the fuck out, man. Figure it the fuck out already.